from tired to thriving, from silence to song. With YDC you belong. Let's start living, rise again. You are more than just a pain. Confident, bold, unashamed. Your discovery coach, remember the name. You're strong, you're seen, you're free to dream. YDC, 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 remember the name. Hey mama, you're more than enough. Hey mama, stand tall, you've given so much. You gave your all, now it's time to shine. You've been in the shadows, now step in the light. Rediscover your voice, take back your name. You're not just a mom, your power, your flame. From tired to thriving, from silence to song. With YDC you belong. Let's start living.
And hey, mamas, let's start living. Thank you so much for joining me on another Friday Live. How's your week been? My name is Debbie Echo. I'm the founder of Your Discovery Coach. Thank you once again for joining me. I don't take your time for granted. And today we're going to be continuing what we started last week. Last week we asked if you were disappearing in your own life. I hope you're able to take those notes down, do a bit of reflection. Not for judgment's sake. The only way we can improve is when we continue to make small improvements in our lives. Little improvements compound. The only way we can have a better future is that we take our notes, we take our lessons, ask where we can get better, how we can work with it, and we can, just keep growing. That's the point. Just keep growing. Just keep growing. Your Discovery Coach is a safe space for women who seek growth out of invisibility and who just want that safe place. No judgment zone here. We don't judge. No, we don't do that here. We find solutions. We look for your stories. We find your patterns. We help you to, just stretch beyond what you are right now, because there's so much on the inside of you, so much you can give, so much you can give your world, your children, your family, the whole world. It's all inside of you, but sometimes we are just scrunched, if that's the word, and we don't, really do our best, because small stories, short stories that we tell ourselves, and just, we stay stuck. So this is me, providing that safe space for you. Come in and let's create that movement that women are much more, right? And much more. So thank you again for joining me. And I remain Debbie Echo, founder of Your Discovery Coach. And today we go on becoming visible again without guilt. Keyword: without guilt. Last week we asked, are you disappearing into your own life? And so many people, had said yes. And today we are going deeper, because awareness is not the hard part. That's the thing. It's okay to be aware. When you're aware of your surroundings, when you're aware of things that are going on inside of you, when you're aware of your emotional health, when you're aware of your emotional patterns and all that. That's not the hard part. That's not the hard part. The hard part is that, why does it feel guilty to become visible again? So let's take a woman, for instance, who's been home for maybe a couple of years, said she was going to stay at home to sit down with her kids. And then all of a sudden, kids grow, right? They go into nursery. Maybe she said she was going to spend the first 2 years. Child is, old enough to go into nursery. Okay, let's say 3 years. Old enough to go into nursery. And then she says, okay, let me look for a part-time job or a full-time job or whatever it is. Have you noticed, if you've been in those shoes, why do you feel so guilty? Or 1 year after maternity leave, you've left your baby, with your grandma, with childminder, whatever. Why do you feel so guilty? Why do you feel so guilty going back to work? Why do you feel so guilty, leaving your kids? Why do you feel so guilty traveling solo? Why do you feel so guilty going to a restaurant by yourself just to have lunch, dinner, whatever it is? Why do you feel so guilty when you ask a friend, watch my kids for 1 hour and let me just have a rest? Why do you feel so guilty? That's the hard part. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's talk about the feeling that shows up when you try to rest, when you try to say no, when you try to delay responses, when you try to choose something just because you want it. That guilt that feels like, it's a moral judgment. It feels moral. It feels okay. It feels like, okay, yeah, it's not okay for you to say no. it feels like you are doing something wrong. But now let's talk about the truth. Sometimes guilt is not a moral signal, it's just a growth signal. That you have been disappearing for years, visibility will now feel unfamiliar. I talked about my watch when my husband bought it for me in December for, I don't know what it was, but Christmas? Yeah, I think it was Christmas. We have so many celebrations in my house in December, by the way. So feels like we're giving gifts back to back because there's birthdays, there's anniversary, there's there's Christmas and all that. But yeah, that's by the way. So he gave me my Garmin wristwatch, and I've been a Fitbit person for 5 years. I've been using my Fitbit from September 2020, 2020, 2020, sorry, what am I saying? 2020. 5 solid years knowing my Fitbit by heart, just I love the way it works. And then he gives me a Garmin, and first I was like, this thing is hard. And I was like, oh, baby, you'll get used to it. And I was like, when this is hard. And I started comparing. Oh, with my Fitbit, I don't need to start, I don't need to start that. I don't need to indicate that I've started an exercise. I just need to keep walking. And then it picks up that I'm walking. And then it starts to record my exercise. And automate this on my Fitbit. And then it was like, babe, you will get used to it. And a lot of times when we are growing out of one thing, the new thing that we are growing into starts to feel unfamiliar. So visibility will feel unfamiliar. What's familiar is that you're there for your kids all the time. You're there for your friends all the time. What were the examples we gave last week? You're used to keeping yourself at the back burner. Your needs did not really matter. It mattered, but not really mattered. You see, your needs were very highly adaptable. Your structured time, your protected time during the day. It was so easy for friends, family, husband to just say no, I want access to this time. So visibility starts to feel unfamiliar when you start to protect yourself, when you start to protect your time, you start to protect your boundaries. It just feels unfamiliar because that's not what you're used to. You're used to being constantly available. You're used to constantly being there. And that's what happens. It's the unfamiliar that starts to feel unsafe that's happening. So why guilt shows up? Being rewarded, having a history of being rewarded for being helpful, for being self-sacrificing, for being dependable, for being emotional available. When you start to reduce access, your nervous system flags it as danger. When you start to see, when you start to grow as a mom, or when you start to grow as a person, you start to realize that certain things can no longer have space in your life. A lot of times, if it's a person that doesn't have space anymore, the person starts to feel threatened. You start to feel guilty that you're calling your friends less. But meanwhile, you're using that time to, do something more productive. But, that guilty feeling, that first few, in the beginning, that it's just, even if you're not feeling guilty, it just wants to find its way into you. Like, how can you just abandon people like that? How can you just, leave your child with somebody for 1 hour just because you wanted to rest? How can you rest? Can you not see the house? Can you not see everything that needs to be done? Can you not see that the children need you? Can you not see this? Can you not see that? That voice that just wants to dominate your thoughts. So your nervous system starts to flag it, starts to say danger, because your identity has been built around being needed. Oh, yes, as moms, we are needed, and that becomes an identity. So when when you start to affirm yourself or assert yourself, or put boundaries, or say no, child, you're going to do this thing by yourself because mom is no longer doing XYZ for you. She needs to convert that time to her own business, to her own growth, or whatever it is. That guilt comes. How can you leave how can you leave them to do things for themselves? Those guilty feelings come. And if you're not needed, that voice starts to ask you, who are you? So when your identity is wrapped around being just, being needed as a mom, being needed as a parent, starts to ask you those questions. Okay, so who are you if nobody needs you? Who are you if nobody needs you? If you're not constantly available, will people love you? Will people look for you? Will people, will they forget you? So you want to be top of the mind, in your friends, in your friendship systems, in whatever it is, but is that really, really helping you? So you're constantly available. You ask yourself that question that comes into your heart that says, if I'm not constantly available, am I still good? So you confuse visibility with selfishness, and they're not the same thing. So we've talked about all this last week. So we're going to be seeing how, seeing the three stages of reclaiming yourself. The first stage is awareness, which is where we started with, which was what we ended with last week. The first stage is awareness. Tell yourself truthfully, it's not judgment. I keep saying it in this life. It's not judgment. Judgment is, not what we do here or what you should be doing. Awareness is data. It's just for you to know where you need to adjust. So your first step is awareness. I have been disappearing. The second stage is discomfort. It feels wrong to prioritize myself. You start to feel funny about saying no. You start to feel funny about, creating boundaries, blah, blah, blah. It feels wrong to prioritize yourself. And then the third step or the third stage is reconditioning. You start to recondition your mind. You start to tell your mind that, I can be visible without abandoning others. So yes, I can be available for people to people, but I don't have to, I don't have to also abandon myself. I don't have to abandon others. There's a way to do it. I can create time. I can not create time. These things can coexist. I don't have to be invisible. Also, I don't also have to abandon people. So you recondition your mind, you recondition how you see your relationships, you condition how your fast response time, your being there. You just there's a way to we'll see as we go on, right? So growth always feels uncomfortable before it feels natural. Before you start to, feel before things start to feel natural for you, it's just very uncomfortable. And it's the same thing, it's the same analogy I've used with now I'm a little bit, it's been 3 months, yeah. It's been almost 2 months, or more than a little above 2 months. And I'm getting used to using the Garmin. I'm getting used to, doing this whole Garmin business. Right. But it takes time. At first, growth will be uncomfortable, but it takes time. But that's the thing. If I said, okay, I'm uncomfortable with the way my by the way, my Fitbit wristwatches are still on my table. But if I had said, oh, no, why did you buy me a Garmin? It's not comfortable for me, and I go back to my Fitbit, I will not get used to using this Garmin. So what I want to say is, growth being uncomfortable does not mean that you should stop. The discomfort does not mean that you should stop. It means that you are adjusting. People will adjust. Everybody around you will be fine. Your children will be fine. Now they're so used to me having my mommy time. They're so used to it. They're in the house right now, but they know, okay, mommy needs to be in the office from 9 till 2. Everyone will know. Everyone will be fine. Do they need me? Yes. But can I also teach them how to be self-sufficient or to be independent in certain things? Yes. I've given them everything they need in a basket. You don't need to keep coming to mommy to ask. Whatever is in this basket is a yes from me. Fruits are a yes from me. Yogurt is a yes from me after your dinner, that's your pudding, right? So you don't need to keep coming to me. You create systems that helps you, and it also helps them, because that's another thing. Bringing that up now, that's not part of what I'm here to teach today, but bringing that up now, when you create systems that help your children to know that, okay, I don't need to come to mom for everything, it also helps their sense of independence. It doesn't give them a sense. Just a lot of times we want to do things in life, but we are constantly seeking permission, because we have been taught to ask for permission for every single thing. Nobody said to us, you don't need to ask me for this. This is okay with me. Every time you wanted X, Y, Z, this one is okay. For this thing for the things in this column, check with mommy. For the things in this column, absolutely you need an adult. There was no demarcation. So I've done that for my kids. I gave them a poster. I said, look, everything in this basket is yes. Don't that constant one. Mommy, can I? Mommy, can I have? Mommy, can I have? Mommy, can I have? Mommy, can I have? Mommy, come on. It drains you. That constant asking you for something. Oh, mommy, mommy. Oh, I said, this one, don't ask me. If I put it in the basket in the morning, if I allocate it for you during your day, it's a yes. Don't keep on seeking permission, because then it also conditions them to be adults who are seeking for permission to be great at what they do, which is what has happened to a lot of us. So discomfort doesn't mean that you should stop. It just means that you're adjusting. People around you will adjust. You are adjusting. So in the next couple of minutes, I will be taking us on a few practical steps on how to, how to become visible again without guilt. Just a few practical steps. Let's make it practical. The first one you can do is to have a 24-hour delay. You don't have to respond to everything. You don't have to respond to everything immediately. You don't have to, there doesn't need to be a English is hard. There does not need to be is that correct? You don't have to respond to everything immediately. You don't have to, respond. It doesn't have to be like everything is an emergency, right? What happens when you create space? You also create stability. You create stability. The second rule you can keep, or the second practical step you can adhere to, is one weekly self-directed decision. Something small that serves you. So it could be like, okay, I'm going out today, or I'm going out this week, or even having an agreement with your spouse. Both of you need that, that space. Okay, on this Saturdays, you stay with the kids, I go out, or I go into a retreat, a mini retreat, a whatever it is. Just one self-directed decision just for you, not because it is good for the house, not because it is good for the kids, not because it's good for your friendship circle, but just because for you. And then you need to reframe guilt. That's another practical step you can take. So instead of saying things in your mind like, I'm being selfish, say things like, I'm stabilizing myself. Reframe what you're doing. Instead of thinking about it as, I'm rejecting others, tell yourself, I'm reclaiming space. Some of us carry other people so much, but we don't know how to carry ourselves. We carry every other thing so well, but we just don't know how to, blossom in the space that we have found ourselves. So you carry so much burden. It's a lot of, conversations that happen in, mom circles. I'm tired. If we're not talking about the children, we're not talking about the husband, we're talking about chores, we're talking about the grocery, we're talking about every other thing. You see that? And that kind of binds us together as women. But is that really, 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 really profitable for us? Is that really profitable for us? We need a space where we're not talking about every other thing, but just what will cause us to grow. You're just reclaiming space. Because at the end of the day, the people that you're, slaving away for, you're doing all these things for and all that, they would leave the house. They would have a life. I will never forget one of my first few, coaching moments where a woman, turned the coaching session to me and said, see, you need to do everything that you take to work on your own self, work on what you like, do what will make you grow. Because when your kids leave, she said her kids were just telling her things like, mommy, go and get a life. She said, after living my life because of these people, they have the guts to tell me to my face to go and get a life. But the honest truth is that as an adult, there's only a limit to how much you want your parents interfering into your life. And it's not a bad thing, because the Bible actually said that you will leave your father and your mother and you will cleave, right? So it's not a bad thing. But when you build your identity, you build your life around your children, you build your, you build who you are around your children, you don't know who you really are. And that's where the danger is. That's where the danger becomes. So, what I want us to do as I close right now is, just think about what everything I've said. You're not rejecting other people, you're reclaiming space. You're not being selfish, you're stabilizing yourself, you're stabilizing your growth. Even think about it. When you grow, you're giving your children an example. You're giving your children an example of what it means to grow, what it means to pursue growth, to pursue the things that matter. You're giving them that permission. So you don't need to announce your visibility. You don't need to over explain your boundaries. Your no is no, and that's sufficient. Your friend picks up the phone, thinks that she wants to have a go at you for not calling her for months. You don't need to explain. You know the you know what you know what you're trying to achieve. You don't need to justify your growth to anybody. You can be devoted without being depleted. Stay devoted, but don't deplete yourself. Know when your boundaries are. Know when you've given enough, you've had enough. Just know it, and it's okay. I give you the permission to say no. You can be present without being erased. You can be loving without disappearing, and you can be visible without being rebellious. It just requires intention. It requires intention. And those are the type of things we these things come from a lot from our childhood and our conditioning. So these are the kind of one of the kind of ways we help women find their visibility again, find their become intentional about how they show up in their homes, how they show up even in marriage, how they show up even in their relationship with other people. This is how we help women grow, grow from being the I am being needed, the dependable one, to the one who branches, whose flowers are blossoming. When people see you, they're like, oh wow, there's so much grace coming out from your life. There's so much, there's just something about you that I wish I could touch. And that's what we help women do. Not the tired mom, or the always tired mom, always down mom, always, stressed mom. There's a narrative that needs to shift, and this is why we create a safe space for women who want to shift this narrative, for women who want to shift this narrative. So thank you once again. And if this helped you to breathe, if this helped you to just think about things differently, I want you to share this video with your friends. Share this video with another mom who you see her, she's struggling, she's overwhelmed, she's stressed, and she doesn't just know how to get help. Just share this video. You never know who you're helping. You never know who you're delivering. You never know who you're who you're you never know who and how this message would land for them and help them, bring them into that place of fulfillment. The thing is, every woman wants to become visible again. There's nothing as painful as being in a home and your husband doesn't see you. Your children only see you as lunch and dinner maker, fruits. In fact, there was one day, let me tell you a little story before I round off. My second daughter was always, every time you ask her, what are you grateful for, mommy? And why do you love mommy? She said, because she cooks food for us. And I was like, oh, that can't be the only thing I do for you. That can't be my that can't be my badge of honor in this house. So it was funny because she was much younger. That's what she can see. But as funny as it was, that's what a lot of us know. That's what a lot of us, our children, know us as. Now, obviously, with her growing up and everything, she has more reasons to why she loves mommy, or more things she's grateful to about mommy and all that kind of thing. But it was just funny, and I started to think, okay, apart from food, what else do I provide for you? What else do I provide for you? And that's somehow, like, it's low key invisibility narrative. The children are seeing you, but what are they seeing you as? A lunch dispenser, a fruit dispenser, a sweet dispenser. What are you being seen as in your house, in your home, in your village, in your vicinity, in wherever it is that you have been planted? Come, let's have this conversation. Come, let's take you through this journey. Come, let's take you through this journey. There are many women who want to become visible again, but they are afraid of what that means. Because that could mean so many things. That could mean losing friendships. That could mean losing, just losing, people losing access to you. That could even mean not being needed as, you would love to be needed, because your needfulness, or your, the way you come across as as needed, is what makes you feel useful. So these are the little things they are afraid. So just share with another woman. Share with another woman who, is just hesitating, waiting for that one invitation. Waiting for that one invitation to step out of the, obscurity and step into the light. They're afraid of what other people may think. They're afraid of the judgment that comes with being visible. Being visible brings a lot of judgment. Yes, it does bring a lot of judgment, but what gain would that, would we have if we stayed invisible? What gain would we have? So you don't have to burn everything down. You don't have to become someone else. You just simply need to stop shrinking. Simply just need to stop shrinking. The day you stop to shrink, you will be amazed at how much light you have to give, how much, how much glory there is about you, how much it is that you are, how valuable you are. Visibility is not selfish, it is sustainable, and you are allowed to exist fully inside your own life. So, this is me giving you the permission. You are allowed to exist inside your own life. Thank you once again for joining me on another Friday Live. Don't take your time for granted. My name is Debbie Echo, and I'm the founder of your Discovery Coach. Thank you, and see you next week, Friday. Have a great weekend. And hey, mamas, let's start living.